Our next thread of the day is titled, Not Wanting to Breastfeed and Facing Judgment. First time mom here. I do not think I want to breastfeed, and I feel like I've been receiving backlash for it on other apps in the community pages. We all feel differently, and if I don't want to breastfeed, why should others feel the need to judge me or call me out for not giving my baby the proper nutrients my body was made to do? It's honestly really irritating. Anyone else facing the same judgment from others for your decision and not wanting to breastfeed your baby? Not sure what happened to women supporting women and mums supporting other mums. I know plenty of ladies who didn't breastfeed and their babies are just fine. So many judgmental Sallys out there. And then she has a little eye roll emoji at the end. I'm going to be a judgmental Sally. I can't help myself. So this is one of those perfect scenarios where I honestly struggle to put myself in the shoes of people like this, because I think they come at it from completely the wrong perspective. And so when she says she's a first-time mom. Now, as a first-time mom, I would be very curious to know how many people in her space around her does she know who have had babies. I mean, she says that she knows plenty of ladies who didn't breastfeed, but did she know them while they were pregnant? Did she know them while they made the decision not to breastfeed? Does she have any idea what the experience of breastfeeding is like? And the sheer conviction, that there's something about it that just screams arrogance to me, of knowing, oh, hey, there is this experience that's actually quite rare and quite special for people nowadays, unfortunately. And I believe that I know exactly how it's going to go. I believe that I know exactly how I would respond to it, despite the fact that I've never experienced any of the emotions or the hormones or anything else around the whole experience, but I know exactly how it's going to go. Therefore, I'm just not going to do it. And again, all this despite knowing that this is the better option for my child. It's just so selfish. Right? It's so unbelievably selfish. Now, I have so much more understanding for women who go out there, who try to breastfeed and who don't like it, who find it painful, who struggle to do it, who have crazy anxiety issues. Although again, I'd say maybe try to deal with the anxiety before you do other things, but that's a personal choice, however you decide to deal with it. If you try it and then you make the decision not to do it, then fine, fair enough. You can own that decision. I have absolutely no issues with people making that decision for themselves. When you don't even try, that's just so, it's just so unbelievably selfish. There is this part of me that thinks, okay, maybe like you owe it to your child to give it a shot, because we do know, and it is fact, that breastfeeding is the best option for your baby. Generally speaking, for the vast majority of babies, breastfeeding is always going to be the better option. Why? Because we also know for a fact that your body can naturally adjust the composition and the nutrients in the breast milk based on what the baby needs. That there's a dialogue that happens between the baby and between the mother. And that dialogue actually happens through the baby's saliva in contact with the nipple. And those two things together, they send signals to each other. So the mother, or the mother's body, I guess, technically understands what are the antibodies that the baby needs right now, what's the level of, like, how much protein to how much fat does it need in the milk, because that will also change over the course of a baby's life. It is a completely different experience and a completely different mechanism than anything that you can get with formula. Now, this isn't to say that there isn't a role for formula. And of course, if you can't breastfeed for any reason, the fact that we have formula available is amazing and we should all use it under those circumstances if the baby is struggling, etc., right? Has absolutely nothing to do with the formula aspect of it. But we know for a fact that this is the best option for your baby. And so when mothers go out there into the world and they're first-time moms, so again, it's not that she has ever tried this out, but you already go into it with this level of prejudice and conviction and belief to do something for your own benefit to the detriment of your child, without taking a step back and going, hey, maybe I can at least try it once. Maybe I can try it for a week. Maybe I owe that much to my child before I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can't be bothered with this. I find it very sad. And when she says, why should others feel the need to judge me or call me out? And she gives this quote of, for not giving my baby the proper nutrients that my body was made to do, that's why people should feel the need to judge you and call you out. You know, I truly believe that a little bit of judgment is healthy for a society. And this is one of those situations where a little bit of judgment is probably a good thing. Like, I'm very, very, very glad that we don't live in the kind of society where all moms can go, hey, you know what? I just can't be bothered doing this breastfeeding thing. It just seems a bit icky. I'm not really into it. And everyone around them goes, oh yeah, great. That's amazing. You should, why would you do that anyway? We have formula. Like, I think that would be a completely terrible response. And this other line she has, not sure what happened to women supporting women and mums supporting other mums. I don't actually believe that women should support women under 100% of circumstances, irrespective of anything they decide to do and why they decide to do it. And I don't think that that goes for mums either. There's a certain level of support, which, like I said, I would have for mums who give it a try, who make decisions because they're like, okay, you know what, this is really harmful for my mental health. I'm a terrible parent. I'm a terrible person. No one can interact with me if I'm breastfeeding because I just hate it so much and it makes me so angry. And, you know, some people even have symptoms of that, like it's an actual illness that exists. Then I can understand being like, okay, maybe you should be a little bit supportive and a little bit understanding, and you should come at it from the angle of, I, as an external person, cannot put myself in the shoes of that person and say, I would make a different choice. Maybe there's a little bit of humility that you should have there, but that's it. That's the most that you can ask for. I know she hasn't given any context for her decision here, but the moment that you say, hey, I'm a first-time mom and I already know that I don't want to breastfeed, then that's as much context as I need to understand that you are making this decision based on your own preconceived notion and things that you've read and things that you've heard from other people of what breastfeeding might be like, and you are not even willing to give it a chance to make your own experience so that you can base a decision on that. So yes, I am a judgmental Sally. I'm comfortable being a judgmental Sally about this particular topic. I'll show you some of the comments so you can see that the rest of the internet is not actually on my side. First person says, you do what's best for you and your baby. This is not the only decision that you have to make that people will judge and make comments on. I do plan on breastfeeding, but I'm fully aware that it doesn't always work out, and I know not to be hard on myself if we struggle. I have a relative that works for Enfamil, and she's explained just how far formula has come, so don't worry about the lack of nutrients. That's just silly that people still say that. And obviously the source that I would use to believe that it's silly for people to argue that breastfeeding is still the better alternative for your baby is someone who works for a formula company. That makes 100% sense. It's exactly the level of research that you should do when it comes to deciding how you should feed your baby. I'm going to skip one of these comments. This one says, no judgment, but I would like to encourage you to try to breastfeed if you're comfortable with the idea. There's definitely pros and cons to both sides, breastfeeding versus formula. And if money wasn't an issue for us, we would have opted to formula feed. However, I tried it to see if I could, and I'm so happy I did. The bonding I feel with my baby when I feed her just makes my heart swell, and I delivered right before the formula shortages, so we kind of dodged that bullet. On the other hand, formula gives you a lot more freedom, since you specifically are not required to feed your little one, and anyone can make a bottle and feed them. I know it seems like there's nothing but judgment these days when someone chooses to formula feed, but breast isn't always best. If it affects your mental health or you and your baby's physical health, then fed is best. As long as he or she is getting a full belly, all the power to you. There are so many things about this statement that I agree with and still disagree with at the same time. So it's the part where she says there's definitely pros and cons to both sides. Yes, fair enough. A lot of the pros of breastfeeding are on your baby's side, which is great. And then some of the pros of breastfeeding are also on your side because it has physical benefits for the mother as well, which is also great. And then all the benefits of formula, generally speaking, are on your side. That's the thing that makes it a little bit more selfish to choose to formula feed. She says, if it affects your mental health and or your baby's physical health, then fed is best. I 100% stand by that statement. Yes, if it affects your mental health and or your baby's physical health, then fine, fair enough, switch to formula. That is to say, if you are unable to make breastfeeding work for your baby, physically speaking, because they don't put on enough weight and so on, then all power to you. And if you really can't handle breastfeeding, if it's really too much for you, then again, fair enough. But neither of these are relevant in this particular situation. So yes, I'm glad that this person felt like replying and saying, hey, I would encourage you to at least give it a shot before you make a decision. But that Like that's actually essential. That's the reason this person is getting the judgment from me anyway, maybe not from other people. And this person also says, I kind of relate, didn't like the idea of breastfeeding really, and then tried it just to see if I could, and I loved it. The bond with baby is amazing. Not saying you can't have a bond with bottle feeding, and I found it so convenient being able to feed baby without getting out of bed during the night. I was heartbroken that I had to stop at 4 months due to medical reasons. Wasn't too impressed with the cost of formula and the constant bottle washes, but at the end of the day, baby was fed and happy, and that's the most important thing. And I would probably say that for the majority of women, you can't really understand or imagine what it's like as an experience until you go through it. Even if you see other people doing it, even if you read other comments from people, every single woman will have her own individual experience, and every single baby will have their own individual experience as well. You cannot compare. So this is one of those things where making a decision based on your own first-hand knowledge and actually going through it is kind of essential. And then I'm going to end with this final comment. The commenter says, nope, not me. I am not even going to try breastfeeding. I know me. I know it won't be good for me mentally. Plus, going back to work, it just won't work. I've heard pumping can be just as exhausting. I do know what you mean. I haven't told my midwife yet because I know it's going to be forced on me. I can't believe we make decisions about our own bodies and people feel the need to comment. God, it's just really, honestly, I can't handle this kind of statement either. So yes, you don't know you though. You can't know you because breastfeeding is a very different experience, because the hormones that are involved are very, very different, because you feel very differently about it, because breastfeeding a 1-week-old baby is completely different as an experience from breastfeeding a 6-month-old baby. And I believe truly that anyone who has breastfed any baby for any amount of time will tell you that. So yeah, okay, you know, if you think you know you quite that well, then fine, fair enough. You can make your own decisions with your body. No one will force you to do anything else. Even if your midwife judges you for choosing otherwise, she cannot force you to do anything, and no one is trying to force you to do anything. So yes, people feel the need to comment because sometimes people make dumb choices, and that's okay. It's okay that people feel the need to comment. If you are so convinced that what you're choosing to do is the right thing, then you wouldn't feel so triggered when people don't agree with you. And I would actually probably say that to OP as well. The fact that it's making you so angry and it's so irritating to you that people are judging you for this says to me that there is some element of you that thinks that probably that there's some truth to it. If you really believed that they were completely wrong, you'd have a much easier time dismissing them and not taking it too seriously. So yes, maybe I'm a little bit mean about this one. I just wish that people didn't come into breastfeeding with this level of preconceived notions and just being so completely sure of yourself of something that you've never experienced. It's just not a good attitude to have going into pregnancy, going into motherhood, going into life in general.